Can you hear me, Jake? Okay. Can you hear me? Testing. Um, Works for other people. Testing. Okay, what's going on, man? Doing well. This is this is recorded, by the way. I don't know if you know that. Is that okay with you, or okay? Probably should have told you beforehand. Cool, man. So yeah, what's going on?
As far as ranking for SEO services in my area, I come up as the #1 spot in the snack pack and organic listings or whatnot, but I'm not getting any kind of traffic off of that because, of course, it's a little to no traffic keyword, but I'm also trying to target the rest of my state that I live in.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I'm having issues trying to rank a specific page on there. So basically, Phoenix SEO is the keyword, but I'm not ranking for that keyword yet. So it's been a while now, and I'm just trying to figure out some other lead generation tactics and whatnot to figure out what I can do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what's your like usual way that you're generating leads? Is just through Google?
Well, the leads that I'm getting right now are all referral based,
Mm-hmm.
which is nice and all, but I would like to get some other leads that are not, weeks and months apart from each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm right now I'm only closing leads at like 350 to 500 a month, if that even.
Okay.
Um, I closed on a deal today for a $500 website build, um, but it's just general SEO on top of that. Not a monthly retainer, but I'm trying to get more monthly retainer clients at $500 a month and up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm just trying to figure out what I can do better to try and get some lead generation. And I do post on Facebook as well, and I do share the post to certain groups in my city.
Mm-hmm.
That's not really getting any kind of traction. I get a lot of reach out of that, but in terms of conversions, I'm not really getting anything off of that.
Gotcha. Okay, and so do you mind me asking how many clients you have right now?
I have I have one client who owns 3 divisions, so I'm managing all 3 of their divisions right now.
Okay.
And then another client who owns 2 restaurants, so 2 locations, one client. And then I have a tattoo shop client. So
Okay.
that's those are my only clients right now.
But you're saying on average like 300 to 500 a month, like
Right.
per
So
client?
the one who is the first one who's doing has all 3 divisions, they're paying around just over 2,000 a month.
Okay. That's
Um,
good.
the other client, the restaurant person, she's only paying 500 a month, and the tattoo shop, they're only paying 500 a month.
Okay, so that's like 3K per month. Are you
Pretty
paying for
much.
tools or anything? Like what's your overhead?
Um, well, I practically use nothing but free tools,
Okay.
a lot of free versions. I do
Gotcha.
use SpyFu for like keyword research and a few other things here and there. Um, let me pull up my list here actually. I created like an expenses list, if you will,
Yeah.
but I'm not really using any kind of paid software
Mm-hmm.
except
And
for
it's just you
just
working
small
right now.
things.
It's not you're not hiring other people or anything.
Right, so it's just me. So I have a project management software that I'm paying monthly on, as like QuickBooks and um, monthly hosting, and SpyFu, which is like a keyword research, and
But like
Uh,
just overall the overhead, what would you say? Like 500 a month, 1,000?
well, if I'm counting like my car insurance payment, whatnot, for tax purposes and all that stuff, so total upwards about 985 to 1,000.
985. Okay. 2,000. And are you doing like hourly? How are you doing your like what are you selling?
Pretty much package deals. I'm not really doing anything based on hourly. You know,
Okay.
I have tried to close clients at like $1,500 a month, 2,000 a month, but a lot of the businesses that I'm attracting, they just don't have that kind of budget, or at least they say they don't have that kind of budget. And
Right.
I'm a pretty shitty salesman, so when it comes to trying to emphasize the value of what they're getting, it's kind of hard for me to bring that across. You know, to word it in a proper way for them to convert over.
Right. Okay, so if you could break it down hourly though, what would you say? Like for the 2,000 ROI you're probably getting or 3,000 total uh gross, would it be like 100 an hour, 50 an hour? What do you think?
Um, I would say it's about anywhere between 20 to 25 an hour.
Holy cow, so you're spending a lot of time on these projects.
Yeah.
Cuz that would break down if you got 3 clients, well actually I guess the 2K per month's where you're probably spending most of your time. And you broke that down to 25 an hour, that would be, wouldn't that be something like 100 hours or something per month on them?
Pretty much, and December 1st is going to be the 1 year mark for me in this business.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just trying to do anything and everything that I can in order to bring in more clients, reduce expenses, reduce the amount of time I'm spending on each client.
So let me ask you, why are you spending so much time? Like, what are you doing? What are you spending 100 hours on per month for like the 2K client?
Well, it's because it's basically national SEO is what I'm doing on for them. It's a mix of like local SEO and national SEO.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that client is a freight. Well, one is a logistics company. The second division is a what the hell do you call it? Like a freight brokerage company, and the third division is just something that they just recently opened up, and it's a like a roadside assistance slash auto body shop, diesel repair shop for the semis and all the other large trucks and so on and so forth.
Right.
And so they're wanting to capture all that national attention because they go all across the U.S., including up into Canada.
Mm-hmm. I'm
So
just curious, like what you're doing, just because it would help give me an idea on like what your selling process looks like. Are you having a harder time getting leads, or are you having a harder time like selling to them, or both?
it's a mix of both, actually.
Okay. Yeah, so I would say the first thing that I'd want to look at is sort of what your selling process looks like, what you're actually what you're selling, what you're getting your clients to agree to, and what you're agreeing to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the other thing that I'd want to look at is how you're building your authority. So like, what does your content marketing strategy look like right now?
Well, in terms of my content marketing strategy, I don't really have a solid one
Mm-hmm.
to be right now as far as generating content using a reseller service like the Auth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm using them like for my tattoo client. I'm doing 2 blog posts a month, and I have that through the Hoth. And right now, that's actually getting some pretty good traction in terms of getting traffic to those blog posts, and then getting leads off of that. Getting a appointment request off of that, and so on and so forth. And it got, I think, maybe 2 or 3 of those blog posts on the first page of Google. It's already only been like 30 to 45 days
Mm-hmm.
for a couple of them.
So you're investing. Are you paying for the content, or the clients paying for the content on the Hoth?
Well, they are paying for the content. So technically, it's $70 a month through the Hoth for those 2 blog posts. But I ended up charging the client $100 a month for it. So essentially getting $30 off it is what I'm getting in
Okay.
terms of just the content alone. But I'm also
And
focusing on their overall SEO monthly plan.
okay, and so for their SEO, like, is that bringing them in leads or is that just bringing them in like rankings right now?
It's both actually. For about 70% of the keywords that they want it to be ranked for, they are ranking on the first page so
Hmm.
far. They've been with us since May, and
Okay.
they're also getting in an average of 2-3 leads per day.
Okay. That's pretty good. And that's for national type keywords or local or both?
It's a local, so there's a small little local tattoo shop.
Okay. So that's going to be my next question. If they're doing a content strategy and you obviously know that that's part of the marketing plan, why aren't we doing that for you, for your company?
That's a good question. I mean,
I
it
mean,
was
it's
going
yeah.
really good for a while, and I was just getting referral leads after referral leads, but then that just kind of quieted down. It sort of hit its peak, and then it just massively dropped uh, in terms of the leads that were coming in, and they were just off of going to networking events or I know somebody who knows somebody kind of deal.
Hmm.
And now I'm trying to get the leads organically, so I'm not having to put as much effort into all of these clients on top of networking groups, on top of doing all these other different random things. I just want to have one clear cut system of generating leads, so that way I can minimize the amount of time I'm spending per month on all these clients.
Right. Well, either way, you're going to have to probably figure out a better streamline for the implementations because 25 an hour is not a big enough ROI in my opinion. I mean, obviously if you're doing it yourself, you're trying to get your own business started, that's fine, but once you start trying to scale that up, you're going to want to really start making enough money to be able to probably start hiring people and that kind of thing. Um,
Right.
so in terms of your content strategy, I mean, that's one thing that we really need to talk about. You know, we need to figure out what type of uh, content you can start putting out there uh, based on some research through either competitor analysis or even just A/B testing. But it's probably gonna be a little bit of both. What I generally recommend is we need to at least hit on like two platforms. And I don't mean content like doing a blog post or video. I mean, that's great. But I just mean anything that you see as a viable strategy in a niche that's not going to be too competitive for you, where it's going to kill your budget and your time that you don't have right now.
Right.
So what we need to look at is, it could even just be you going and commenting on forums. I don't know, but we need to see what's working for other people. Um, and here's the thing, like I recommend doing what I do, like doing video, doing blog posts, that type of stuff. Obviously, you're gonna be competing against me, but I'm a big believer that the any industry has different um, personalities that people relate to, and if you start creating content, uh, you're gonna be able to sell and relate to people on different levels than I'm going to be able to do that on. So like the clients that you have, it's quite possible that they, even if they were to know like before they found you that I had, a good amount of views and some presence on YouTube, that kind of thing, that they might not even gone with me just because of the way that you communicate to them rather different than how I do. Right.
Right.
So I would say again, the biggest thing is start figuring out what's working for other people, what works for me, and I'll tell you what works for me. But this might not be the best strategy because again, I would recommend trying to do a little bit of research on, what your competitors are doing, what's bringing them traffic and conversions. But what works for me is, first of all, when I create content based on what I know. Currently works in the industry, and it's not like me just going and doing a blog post and then hoping it ranks. What I actually do is I go and try to see where there's vulnerabilities, like let's say, for instance, on YouTube, I see that there's like not a lot of competition, or I see people are doing certain types of videos and they're able to grow their channel by doing a certain type of thing where they do one video a week where it's, a picture or a video of their face and then they do a screen record. And then I'll go and test that and see if that starts working for me. But in terms of the actual strategy that I implement, and this is something that's really important that I think you should probably think about, is taking what you do. For instance, this audit right now, or this call, or whatever you want to call it, this is a prime example of how I'm probably going to get more people calling me and asking me for coaching or asking me for courses or whatever, because they're going to watch this video and they're going to go, oh, this is how Chase operates. This is how I can see how I can relate to him, all that kind of stuff, right? And so what I'm doing is I'm giving away something for free to you, but what I'm also doing is I'm getting content in the process where I can show people what I'm actually doing for work, which is a lot different than just doing, like, let's say 5 ways to do something, right?
Right.
Now that stuff's great if you're going to be able to rank it, but for the most part, trying to go for organic type content right off the bat, trying to rank organically, as you know, it can take a while. So if you're trying to get a lead generation strategy, only going for trying to rank for stuff organically with low keyword difficulty or something like that right off the bat, it's generally harder to do that, and it's not what I recommend right off the bat because you're not going to have the budget for that, and it's probably just going to be you. So what do you do? So what you do, again, is you find what works for other people. Me, what I like to do is I like to give away this stuff. I like to give away SEO audits. I like to, and again, I do this with video. I give away SEO audits. I give away, coaching, courses, whatever. And then in those things, I always recommend 2 things. So I'll do the first one, which is free, which is, by the way, while they're watching this, like, oh, go join the Facebook group, or, go download the PDF, whatever I have extra. And then there's a paid call to action, which is, by the way, if you guys want something like this, just go over to my website, book an audit or book a coaching call, whatever, $200,
Right.
And so people have the option to just follow me just because they want to learn from me. But at the same time, they also have the ability to purchase. And the thing that's most valuable about this isn't even just the sale. The thing that's most valuable about this is that now I'm starting to create content on one channel. So let's just say I start out with YouTube and I see that other people are doing like 1 video a week, and the video includes 30 minutes of me talking with my face shown on the camera and 10 minutes of screen recording or whatever it is, right?
Right.
And again, this might not be for you. A lot of people don't feel comfortable talking because it's awkward. They don't feel confident about what they're saying, or it's unknown. They don't want to know how to set up all the video equipment, whatever it is, right? But again, if you can't figure out how to do that part, you can probably hire somebody to help you with that. You can always find ways around this stuff, but it's important to figure out what's working for other people is what I'm trying to get at. The next thing is with what I was saying is the thing that's really valuable about this is, say I'm doing this stuff, 30 minutes, screen record, 10 minutes, me talking, whatever I said. What I'm going to also do in that, as I said earlier, is that free call to action is going to be me promoting another asset. And again, this is why you want to have multiple assets, because as you know, just having referrals or having one source where you're getting most of your traffic is a liability because you don't control that 100%. So anything that you don't 100% control, like content, you 100% control your content for the most part. You're going to be at a liability because at any time that source could just turn off, right? An algorithm can change. People might not like you anymore, whatever it is. But we have to try to get as many assets under our belt as possible so that when something ends up not working for us anymore, we can take our other assets now that we have and use those to either try to rebuild a new asset or rebuild or relaunch an asset that's not working anymore, or just start focusing on another asset altogether. So again, what I do is I do a YouTube video. I do more than one a week, as you probably know, and I'll promote my Facebook group. The Facebook group now has 15K members in it. And of course, I'll do a little bit of SEO on that as well, which that's a different subject, but you can do SEO for Facebook and get people to join your Facebook group through the search engine, which is kind of cool. And then in the Facebook group, of course, then I'll probably, promote blog posts that I do. We'll just say 3 blog posts a week or something. And then also I'll do like a paid promotion in there every week, like, buy the course, whatever, right? Now, again, what I'm doing here is I'm building national authority, right? You can even just target local, but I don't really recommend only targeting local, because what's going to end up happening is you're going to probably, as hit like a limit with your targeting. There's only so many people in your area that are probably looking for SEO, and a lot of them are even probably looking for, just YouTube tutorials or something that's more national. What I would recommend if I were you, and this goes back to what we were saying earlier, is I want to see how your implementation looks and how your sales looks, because I want to know what you specialize in. And the reason for that is when you start out, it's really hard to become known as somebody who does SEO because everybody does SEO. It's easy, though, to become the SEO guy that does SEO for, dentists or something, right? Even though there's still a lot of those guys. Huh?
Which is what I'm trying to get into, is that dental niche.
There you go. So, and that's something we have to think about now. If you're going to niche down in the start, which is what I recommend, then you need to find who's already doing that well. And again, there's going to be a pretty easy way to find this out. You can use 2 tools. One's called Ahrefs that you can plug in a site, see what the traffic looks like. And there's another one called SimilarWebs, which will let you plug in a website and see where they're getting all of their referral traffic from, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, whatever else. Now, again, just because something's working for somebody else doesn't necessarily mean you should replicate that. But what you should think about is something that you would feel comfortable trying to replicate in the first place. And again, this is just based off a hunch, right? It could be you could start doing I have no idea, podcast once per month. As long as you're creating content to build your authority consistently, and by consistently I mean consistent enough based on what the intent is of people looking for somebody who does that. So if you're going to go and just do a podcast or something once per month, but the intent for that niche you can see on average is like 4 times a month, then generally you want to go for that. And if I were you, if you're starting out, try to double whatever the first intent is, because you're going to have to kind of front load your content and your authority building in the beginning, because it's going to be hard to see what works right off the bat when you don't really have any sort of evidence in the first place. But that's what I would recommend from a lead generation standpoint. Again, you're not doing anything really out of the ordinary. What you're doing is you're trying to get as close as possible to replicating what's working for other people to start out with. So don't think about innovating in the beginning. You want to think about innovating once you figure out how to replicate what's working. Once you start getting some traffic, let's say you get 5 views per video, and it's still not a lot, but it's still something, then you could start doing what I'm doing, where you give away an audit, or you give away, a consultation. You get people on the phone. And that's, again, the first step into creating your real content. Because if you can create content where you're showing yourself working, whether it's you just going through and optimizing a site and talking about it, or talking to somebody else and recording it, or you doing like a meetup group, I don't know. But that's what people like to see. That's what they want to hire. They want to hire people that they can see are transparent about what they do, that they know what they're talking about, and that they're not scared to put themselves out there. And again, if you're the type of person, which a lot of people are, not comfortable talking, or they just don't want to, or for whatever reason, it is a very good idea to try to figure out who you can help you with that, or how you can get around that and find another strategy where you don't necessarily have to be the front-facing person of the brand. But again, at that point, that's where you have to find a budget. So, and from what I'm seeing right here, $2,000 ROI, which, that's not a lot. That's not going to...
I'm barely even paying my bills with just what I'm
right.
paid right now for my clients. So.
Exactly. So in that case, you're kind of in a position where you have to sort of figure out how you're going to start building authority for yourself, bring people in. And again, all of my tactics, they're not based through links. They're not based through, um, doing some sort of quick fix. What I do is not anything really that special. I just, again, I try to, for any niche, I try to figure out what's working for that niche and how can I replicate that as close as I can so that I can see if it's going to work for me. And I don't, obviously just throw that away after the first time it doesn't work, but I will try that a few times. And if it doesn't end up being something that I see as something viable, like for instance, if I do a bunch of blog posts in like a month or two, they're still not ranking, and that's like how I was planning on getting people. Well, obviously, then I'm going to switch to YouTube, which is how I started out. I tried ranking on YouTube or Google when I first started. I tried doing podcasting. I tried doing all this stuff, but the problem with me is that I was competing in industries, which the SEO industry is very competitive, and I didn't have the budget to do that. Now I have the budget, right? I have the time. I have people managing or running my agency for me. I have money coming in, streamlined, where I can spend my time doing these type of calls with you, where I'm not really making any money, but there's a greater purpose to it, right? Because I'm building my authority, I'm building my brand. The other cool thing is if you can build your authority somewhat nationally, which is easier to do than trying to build authority locally, you can reverse build that into your local authority. So I actually got close to almost 300 5-star reviews on Google, which I'm pretty sure makes me the highest rated internet marketing agency on Google right now. And the reason why I was able to do that is because of the content that I've created, the community that I've created. I took those people, whether it be through email or Facebook, Messenger, or YouTube, whatever, and I started asking them for reviews. And now people leave me reviews all the time. And that obviously is going to boost myself locally, which I'm not even concerned with at this point, mainly because there's not really a search rate in the town that I'm in, but also because I am more concerned about bringing in people through national type searches.
Right.
So anyways, sorry, I've been rambling for a while. Do you want to say anything? I didn't mean to like.
Oh no, it's all good. I'm just sitting here listening because
Okay.
like you're the professional, you're the expert on it, and I do follow a lot of what it is that you do have on your Facebook group and all that. I just wish I had the funds for purchasing your courses and whatnot. And
Well, I'll give them to you for free today.
you sure?
Yeah, I'll give them you all. I'll give them all to you.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. But that brings me to my next thing, though, is that I wrote a 70-page super simple SEO guide for small businesses, and that's basically what the title is. It's the idea that anybody can learn SEO, such as these small businesses. So, and I wrote it, and I spent like I don't know how many hours on it, trying to refine it and all that stuff, and put it all together in one single PDF. And I have it pinned to the top of my company Facebook page, but I haven't really got much reach out of that, and I haven't really got any kind of conversions off of that, even though I promoted the hell out of it. And because I do believe that you can get value out of giving away something for free, just like how you were talking about as well. And
Right.
so, yeah, it's a 70-page guide, and it's very simple to follow. It's very, broken down to where even if you never heard of SEO before, you at least now know that it's important. You need to do it. Here's how to do it.
Now, would you say that you created that guide based off an idea you had, or was it based off something that you saw was working for somebody else?
Well, what I saw was it's kind of a mix of both. What I saw was that there was all these random guides that are out there. Beginner guides for SEO, for all these other different random steps. But what I noticed is that a lot of them, not all of them, but there was a lot that people were finding that just was not answering a lot of their questions. It was constantly running into spaces where there's a huge gap between certain steps that they don't realize that are gaps in those steps. And so what I did is I broke it down literally button click by button click of how you set up certain elements here and there with the WordPress, with a Divi or, whatever the case may be. I just went and found all these different little steps here and there and just kind of put all that in there and just made one simple 70 page guide. And yeah.
But you didn't get really much anything from it, right?
Right.
So again, I was in that position about 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I don't remember. And I was just trying to figure out a way. I was putting all this time creating these massive blog posts, doing all this stuff. And it was just crickets. There was just nobody, right? And I was sitting in my garage and I was just looking at my keyboard because I was like sitting in my garage like 15 hours a day, just doing crazy work, only getting like $300 retainers from my clients. And I like thought to myself, I'm like, look, like I have to figure out a way to do something based on where I see people already getting clients from. And I remember looking through all these different places. I looked through Facebook groups, Reddit, YouTube. Right. And what I started seeing is I would see on YouTube all these people just, in the comments, hey, can I get help with this? Hey, can you teach me how to do this? Hey, and that was a lot different response than when I was doing some of my other stuff where nobody was saying anything, right? Now, here's the thing. If I made that guide, like even if I put my name on that guide and I released it, and it was like under Chase Reiner brand signed off, I wrote this, I could probably sell that thing. Now, that's not to brag. I'm just saying it's because I'm at the point where people look to me for innovation, where I don't really have to necessarily spend as much time trying to find people to contact me or interact with me, that kind of thing. It's a lot different when you start out because you have to be in a position where you're not really being original in a sense, but you're just taking. And it sounds kind of lame, and it sounds like maybe like a little basic in a sense. But the second I started basically copying people, but in my own way, is when I really started getting people noticing me. Now what I'm doing is completely different than what most people do, and I'm trying to sort of be like the influencer in a sense where I kind of take maybe new philosophy, stuff like that, and push those so that people will buy my courses or whatever else. Right. But that's because I'm in a position now again where I'm not necessarily looking for clients. I'm looking for a different type of person, which is just the evolution of going from doing client work to making an agency, then to running the agency successfully, so on and so on. So again, what I would say for you is choose a couple channels that you feel like you could replicate based on what you see is working for other people. And it doesn't have to be like you're replicating me or Brian Dean or anything, but you do need to find somebody that's closely similar to you that is doing somewhat okay with what they're obviously making more money than you, right? And if you don't know how to do that, again, you can go to something like Ahrefs or SEMrush. SEMrush gives you free searches, and you can actually see how much organic traffic they're getting. You can use SimilarWebs, again, to look up how much referral traffic they're getting from different sources. And if you see, let's say you're going for dental SEO, and you see some guys, obviously talking all about his clients and how much money he's making, that kind of stuff, which you can literally just ask these people. I mean, people in the SEO industry love bragging about themselves. And it's really funny because they just, they really let like what's going to end up working for you. Actually, one of the reasons I went into YouTube is because Josh Baczynski wound up bragging to me. Probably shouldn't be saying this live right now, but Josh Baczynski wound up bragging to me about how many clients he was getting off of YouTube. And that was like the final straw for me. So yeah, I mean, again, you can take that person's website, see how much referral traffic he's getting from, like, let's say he gets a bunch from Facebook. I don't even know who we're talking about yet, but, just some random person who's doing really well in that industry. And then you can go to their Facebook page and then go look at what's being successful for them. Are they boosting their posts? Are they doing, blog type content consistently? How much are they probably spending on that? Are they writing them themselves? Are they, And again, once you start tapping on a couple places, you really only need a few people looking at your stuff. Like if you start getting 10 to 20 people looking at your posts and your YouTube videos, that kind of stuff, or wherever you're posting consistently, and this isn't cold traffic. This is people who know who you are, which is a lot different than giving away your free PDF or whatever it is, because that's cold traffic that you don't want to try to get those people. You want to get people who are actually interested in seeing you in an organic way. Any ads should be remarketing. So if you get 10 to 20 people looking at your stuff, spend your money not on ads to cold target more people, spend your money to remarket to those current people who are watching your stuff, giving them the free template. Those are the people who's going to buy from you. And then what you do again is you don't just give them the free template, you give them something that leads up to your service. Because here's the thing, the template that you have isn't necessarily your target audience. Those are the people who are going to link to you and build your authority, help you with that. But your target audience, which you need to start making money off of, is the people who's going to end up getting the first step of your value ladder, which is your free offer. And your free offer is generally what is the thing before your paid offer. So that's why it comes back to what you're doing for your selling and for your implementation. I'm hoping that you have some sort of process where you do an audit for someone and then you end up selling them a service. Right. But it might even be at first, you do both of those things for free. It might be that you give away the audit for free, and then you sell them, or then you give away the service for free, and then you sell them the service a month later. But again, if you start giving enough stuff away for free, and you hopefully get content out of it at the same time, kill two birds with one stone, but you don't have to, that's how you're going to start bringing people in, because who's going to decline free? Unless you're really, really sketchy.
Right.
So that's probably what I would do if I was starting out. I would niche down, for instance, choose dental SEO, start reaching out to dentists, say like, hey, I want to give you a free SEO audit. And I also want to do, like, if it's really that hard to sell services, you're getting like a 0% conversion rate. Which again, if you can do a good enough audit, which I would check out some of the courses that I have, and I'll give them to you so you can kind of see how I do them. But if you do a good enough audit, people will want to buy your service. Then you're going to do that. But again, if you can't give away your service, like if you can't find enough people who will take your service for free, then you need to give it away at first, is what I'm saying. If you can't find enough people to buy your audit, then you need to give it away. Right? The only reason I'm doing this coaching call right now is because I don't have 30 people buying my coaching right now. Not to say that I haven't been pushing it or anything like that. Like, I mean, I haven't, but, it's all about supply and demand. And the more your demand goes up, the easier it is to monetize. And you're at a point right now where your demand's really low. So you should be probably trying to figure out how you can spend less time working on your clients' websites at $25 an hour, because that's I would say that's too cheap. Try to bring it to at least $50 an hour, and then take those extra hours you get off the top of that and put it in to start building your own brand.
Right. Yeah, because my target goal, I mean, with December 1st being my first year running this business for Peaks SEO, if you look at it from a 12-month cycle for monthly retainers, given the current clients of what I'm making right now, the first year goal was just 40,000 a year. If you look at it at a 12-month time frame, even if they've only been with us for 6 months, right? So the first year goal was 40,000. And if you look at the 12-month cycle on that only came up to like 38,000 or something like that. So missed that goal, unfortunately. But nonetheless, I'm still going to try and up that goal up to 50,000 for the next year, and trying to reach that goal. It's very low. I think it's something that I can hit. It's just trying to find what's going to work, what's not going to work. Should I give away these audits, and so on and so forth. And that's just kind of where I'm at right now, because I don't have a budget for pay-per-click marketing and whatnot, because I think pay-per-click marketing is it's just too wild. There's too many unknowns. There's too many variables when it comes to that. So everything I'm doing right now is all organic, and of course, organic takes a hell of a lot more time. But also at the same time, when trying to drill down into that niche and trying to give away free stuff, it's always the hard part is trying to get past those gatekeepers to get to the right people to say, hey, okay, well, let's do the free audit. The ones who make that decision, even if it is free.
Well, it's hard because you're directly outreaching to them. It's not hard if you have them find you, right?
Right.
And that's why I'm saying, there's an easy way to do this. There's a hard way to do it. And I've tried both. I've been on the phone calling random businesses. Hey, you're number 4 on Google, or even walking into the place and making a really awkward conversation, which is not awkward anymore because I have, I'm really nonchalant about it and they can see I don't care. But when I actually knew I needed it, and it's like, hey, I'll do this for $300, give you a free audit. It's not the same as if you're doing work and you're purposely putting yourself in front of these people in a way that they can actually see what you're doing for people who are already in that niche, right?
Right.
But again, you have to figure out if you're not going to create the content, whether it be through a text-based post where you're recording everything you did, like before and after pictures of analytics and that kind of stuff, or video or a podcast around that niche or whatever, then you're going to have a really hard time either, paying with a huge budget for other people to do it for you, or having just needing to do direct referral based type, physical marketing, which you don't want to do that because there's too many people in this industry spamming that because they're doing they don't want to go down the route that we're talking about, the harder route. So, I mean, there isn't really a right answer, but there's definitely a wrong answer. And I would say the wrong answer would be don't put all your eggs in one basket. Try to find a couple different sources that you can start consistently hammering on where it's not just 3 ways or, X ways to do Y, right? Nobody cares about that. What they want is they want to see how you are different. And again, it can be by personality, how they can relate to you based on what you know, and start showing people that stuff as much as you can, and start giving away as much value up front. I think you applied for my SEO audit that I put out in the Facebook group. I said, apply for this free SEO audit. And then in there, you probably saw it said budget, so on and so on. Now, the reason why I didn't outreach to you, and this isn't personal, but I gave out so much value that you found me somehow, right? Through Facebook or YouTube or whatever, at some point in time over the last however much time I've been doing this stuff. You wound up finding that thing. You filled it out. You said you knew that you needed help. Now, when you filled that out, it said budget, right? You probably put in a budget that I wasn't looking for, so I didn't respond. And again, it's not personal. It's just how it works, supply and demand.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
And so for the people that did put the right budget, right, free audit, put your budget in, they put $3,000 a month. Well, from that thing I put out there, well, now I have, I think, 3 new clients that are above like $2,000 to $3,000 a month. And, that's one of the ways where I'm not just charging for content all the time. Like, again, this video call right now that we're doing, I'm going to redistribute this across all these different places where I have followings, and it'll probably generate me more money than if I were to just do an ad, right? And it's because I'm not direct selling anymore. What I'm doing is I'm just putting myself out there. I'm showing people. And again, this isn't personal. It's not because I don't want to help you or any stuff. It's just because this is how business works. If you take what you know and you put it in front of the people who are already looking for your service, that's a lot easier than directly outreaching to people is what I'm trying to get at.
Right. No, I got what you meant. And no worries. Didn't take anything personally. So you're good there. So I do have a few podcast episodes on my company website itself. I
Okay.
haven't done a podcast episode in quite some time, actually. I haven't really gotten any kind of traction off of that either. But also at the same time, it's also my fault for it not getting traction because I wasn't submitting to enough channels or submitting to the right channels, if you will. So I wasn't really promoting it as much at the same time because I was having to focus on everybody else, all my other clients, and all the other crap that goes on and all that. Um, so what I'm going to try and do is do like YouTube tutorials on how to do stuff, how to set something up, or um, do a podcast based on one of the blog posts that I put out there, or do a blog post and do a podcast on that blog post, or something of that, or do YouTube based on that blog post at the same time. So I'm definitely taking your suggestions to heart, and I do think it's a really good idea because I'm not under that same pressure of trying to do that direct selling at the same time. So
Right.
I get what you mean there. Yeah.
And when you do that stuff, I would say try to again focus on what is unique to you as much as possible. I can't touch the people who are doing 500 or I don't, that's an exaggeration, 50 videos around dental SEO because I don't have the time for that, right? But
Right.
but the same thing goes for like Brian Dean. Brian Dean looks at me or other like big, Moz.com, whatever. They look at me and they go, I can't do what Chase does on YouTube, which he's doing all these, videos and stuff like this, because we're looking at trying to rank for the keyword SEO just on Google, right? It's super competitive. So
Right.
what you're doing is you're taking what somebody can't do because they are already trying to tackle bigger fish, and you're carving out your own space for yourself, which then once you get to a certain point, you start making enough money or whatever it is, then you start building yourself into a bigger brand or you create sub brands or whatever, right?
Right.
But you have to start out somewhere. You have to start out small. Think, okay, if I know the top person who's doing this certain niche or whatever is doing one video a week and he's only got 30 videos out there, but you can obviously see he's getting clients, that kind of thing. I'm going to go and try to double that in the next couple months. I'm going to do 2 videos a week and I'm going to try to replicate as much as I can his layout, follow what he's doing. And you can innovate a little bit. Like you could take strategies from each platform. Like say you want to hit on Facebook, Google, and like YouTube, see what's working in, these different places for different people, hopefully around the same niche, and then replicate those strategies into your own. But again, you're using a little bit of your own personality, right? You're not just obviously copying directly, but you could literally do the same type of video, like the ultimate, dental SEO guide. If you saw that worked as a 3-part series, freaking do it. There's
Right.
going to be so many SEO 2019 ultimate guides this next year because, everybody's seeing that it's going to work. I mean, it's just how it is. But back when I started, there was only one person who had that guide. It was Josh Brzezinski. Guess what happened? I copied it and I got a bunch, but I didn't copy it, right? I just copied the layout, but I had my own personality because people, again, they don't hire you because of what you know. I mean, part of it's what you know, but the other part is because they just want to relate to somebody that seems like them, right? That they feel like they can trust. And again, a lot of the time, people probably hire other people other than me because I'm a lot less, salesy, or I'm a lot less, you know, just build a link or whatever. Which, again, I'm fine with because I'm fine trying to build that other audience. But other people will identify that that's my weakness, and then they'll go try to build that.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, that's where I would start if I were you. The only other thing that I would want to look at, which would probably have to be like another call or something, would be just your overall implementation process, what your sales strategy looks like, what you're actually doing once you get the client in front of you, because a lot of that also has to do with how you actually present yourself. If you're really confident about bringing people in and you know exactly, like, step by step how you want to sell, um, and maybe you already do. It makes things a lot easier when you're actually going out, putting yourself out there, because you're going to feel a lot more confident about that.
Right. Because my issue right now is I don't really have a dedicated sales funnel process, if you will.
Right.
So that's something I really need to figure out is what does that sales funnel look like, and what is all in, what does that all entail? What does that look like, and so on and so forth. So that's definitely something I need to figure out.
Yeah. So I mean, if I do end up doing, I mean, it's going to be another like probably hour call. If I do end up doing another call, I'll let you know, and maybe we can go over that next time. Um,
Yeah, definitely.
but yeah, I mean, I think this is probably a good start. You already kind of know, like you already said, like biggest thing really moving forward is start building a little bit of authority for yourself, because your biggest bottleneck right now is not, um, you know, how you're doing the implementations in a sense, but more, at least from what I know, but more about how you're going to take the extra time you have. And hopefully you have extra time at that 25 an hour average. I don't know about that, but, um, and using that to start trying to hit on at least two platforms consistently based on an intent that you can identify is a need in that market, and then carving out a little niche for yourself, and beating the average as fast as you can.
Right. And that's where the consistency comes into play with the 3 blog posts a week or 1 video a week and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, it's about like what you already did with the 75-page thing. Um, Obviously that's probably better than most other things you're going to find around that uh, topic. But the problem is you haven't consistently done anything, and you also haven't consistently done anything in terms of building the content. Is what I'm saying. You also haven't consistently done anything based on an actual intent that you've identified yet. So what happened is you spent all this time doing something off of a guess, which, again, if you're in the innovation standpoint or timeline or whatever you want to call it, that's fine, because if you can guess and you have an audience already, it's not a big deal if it doesn't work out that well. But if you're at a place where you're not already having a consistent content marketing game plan, you don't have an audience, and you don't have really an idea how it's going to perform, then what you need to do is, again, not reinvent the wheel, not take a guess, take what's working for other people, try to hammer on that as much as possible in a way that it's unique to the niche you're trying to carve out for yourself, and then beat the average consistently for a couple months on that. And then once you do that, that's when you're going to really start building your authority. And again, this is the hard way to do it. You're not doing, like, for instance, it's not like I'm going on here and saying, all right, so what you need to do is you need to go do 3 Craigslist posts. That's not what I want from you. What I want to see is, you going out and doing what we're talking about, and actually creating somewhat of a name for yourself, or for your brand at the very least, where you're known for something that people go to you for that. And again, it doesn't have to be, it could literally be on Pinterest for all I care, or Twitter, but you have to figure out how that's going to work for you.
Right. Makes sense.
um, that's pretty much all I have to say, I guess, for the moment. Unless you have any questions.
Um, not not so much at this time. I mean, I am trying to reduce how much time I actually spend per month for each client, and trying to bring in more sales, and so on and so forth, and just trying to get that consistency up, and trying to focus on some new topics and whatnot, and so on and so forth, and figure out all these other different things without having as much of a budget to afford a lot of other tools at the same time. So that's where that trick is too, is trying to afford certain tools to be able to look at certain things like, well, who's doing what, how are they doing it, where's traffic coming from, so on and so forth. And
Well,
Um,
SEMrush for 5 searches a day and SimilarWebs are both free. So,
okay.
and those are two tools that I would say you should probably look at um, in order to see at least the traffic people are getting. I mean, and if even if you can't do that, I mean, when I first started, literally what I would do is I would just go and look at people's engagement on different social platforms or whatever, and I would see, or I would even just ask them. I would literally, send them a message and be like, yeah, I would either ask them if I could interview them, or I would say, how are you getting clients? And a lot of people are really, I mean, it's weird. They all talk. They all brag about it. So
Right, right. And would specifically, or I want to say specifically, but would exclusively focusing on small businesses in my area, is that something that will ultimately hinder me from trying to scale the agency?
wait, say that
Or
last part again. I didn't hear it.
would me exclusively focusing on small businesses hinder me from scaling the agency at the same time? Because
So
that was the whole focus of when I first started the company, was just to exclusively focus on small businesses and not large commercial, um, high grade corporate accounts.
I mean, at the end of the day, you have to think about like why you made that decision. Um, I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer there. I think it comes down to whether or not you think that that's what's for you in a sense. Like
Right.
from a money perspective, I can tell you that I've made a lot of money targeting everybody, but from a rational, like me going back in time perspective, I wish I would have just targeted dentists for the first year, right?
Right.
Because if I could build as much authority as I have on YouTube just for what I have and bring in local and national clients, which again, uh, you know, I lost a lot of clients because I didn't know everything about all these different niches. It was really hard for me to figure out how to create all the templates, create all the processes, create all the sales strategies, everything that's going to fit everybody, right?
Right.
So that took an insane amount of time. I mean, I learned a lot, and even now it's like it's cool that I have the stuff that I now know, and now I'm able to help more people on a bigger level. But going back in time, I could have easily scaled up 100 times faster by making, like, let's say 200K in the first couple of years rather than, let's say, I don't know, however much I made, or let's say 400K because I made about 200K. But that's because I spent so much time trying to attack everything, and I wasn't able to scale as fast because I didn't have the money to do that, right? Like
Right.
it's easy to do your marketing if you have a budget, as you know.
Right.
So like if you had an extra 5K month budget, I just handed that to you and I was like, here, do this for your agency. You'd probably be like, okay, I'm just going to buy somebody to do videos for me. I'm going to buy people to do content for me. I mean, it's easy. But you're not going to get that by targeting everybody at once because you're not going to make that by trying to figure out everything for everybody. You're going to go crazy. So what you need to do, also you're going to be competing with people like me who's targeting everybody, and you don't want to do that because it's like, it's just hard. Even I still struggle trying to target everybody. So instead, again, I wish I would have started with, in the first year, just made like 200 videos or something crazy on dental SEO or something like that. And then like, what are people going to do when they think of dental SEO? I mean, it's easy, right? Well, it's so much easier. You know how much easier it would be for me to sell SEO services to dental practices if I had 200 videos on YouTube right now about it, and courses and whatever else. My
It'd be
website
like
had,
nothing. It'd be like no effort.
it'd be no effort, and I'd probably be even making more now than I even am now. Just because the fact that I would be streamlining my content. I mean, my all my templates, all my content, everything. I would know everything about that industry. I'd be able to talk to people based on what I know there. I'd be able to create content based off that. I'd be able to sell courses. I mean, everything would be based off that. And then I would have the money to be able to invest that back into what I actually want to grow into, which let's say is like, an instructor or coach or whatever it is, versus taking the long way where it's just like trying to figure out everything. And even now it's like, I still don't know, half of what some of those, SEOs out there know for like, they've been doing it for 20 years, right? Or 30 years, whatever it is.
Right.
So again, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, but I think it has to do with what you want. And if you want to play with the big boys, that kind of thing, then you're going to have to do what the big boys do. And, a good glimpse of that is like, I have 800 videos on YouTube right now. So think about trying to compete against that versus compete against, a dental person who's making probably just as much as I am, or maybe a little bit less, and they only have 30 videos, right?
Right. Yeah, because I'm looking at trying to hit anywhere between 50 to 70,000 for this next year, because I didn't even think I was going to make even that much, despite what the goal was for the first year. I didn't think I was actually going to make that much. But also,
Well, I mean,
at the end of the day, I want to be able to still target 50 to 70,000 for this following year and try to niche down and do basically learn from all the mistakes that I made this previous year moving forward.
yeah,
And just taking everything that you have in your guides and so on and so forth, and the suggestions that you provided so forth. So just to be able to implement all of that into one large strategy, if you will, and just kind of head it out and just do the best that I can with that. Because for me, I'm also a lazy asshole at the same time. You know,
yeah,
um, so it's a bit of self-discipline since I work from home, and of course that's already dangerous enough as it is working from home because you got so many of the different distractions.
right.
As well as just trying to have better time management skills and so on and so forth. So it's all about just not only trying to figure out how to drill down this whole niche strategy here, but also the self-discipline. But nobody else except for myself can handle that with the whole self-discipline and time management and all that BS there. But moving forward, though, the next goal that I have is anywhere between 50 to 70,000. To me that's scaling if I actually make that, and if it goes up by another 10-20% for the following year, great. Like, to me that's scaling, um, because I know that if I was to hit that 150,000 mark or 200,000 mark for the second year of business, I honestly would not know what the hell to do with myself, because I would be tempted to be like, okay, well, I got this partner over here. Let's just go ahead and pay them to do that work, and so on and so forth. That way I can go ahead and focus on this other thing, and so on and so forth. And that's a trap in itself from what I've learned
Oh
by
yeah.
trying to hire an assistant and doing all those different things.
I mean, that's one of the main reasons why I wound up, um, you know, trying to shut down my whole YouTube channel at one point. Like, I just, you know, got to a point where it would be easier. I literally remember this. I thought to myself, it'd be easier for me to go to Starbucks and make 40K a year than it would be to stay doing what I'm doing, making 200K a year with how much stuff I have to figure out, right?
Right.
And at the same time, it would be less satisfactory for me to go back making 60K a year doing SEO than it would be for me to just go like do something where I don't have to think about it anymore. So I would say in that regard, yeah, try to take baby steps. Obviously you want to work hard, but also you don't want to take yourself and your business too seriously by comparing it to what other people are doing. Because even if you look at what most other people are doing anyways, a lot of it's a facade. And even if it looks like they are making a bunch of money or they are making a bunch of money, usually something ends up suffering because of that. Success is like one of the...
I'm always having to hit that hide ad button or whatever in the Facebook feed, because
Right.
it's just all full of all these bullshit gurus and affiliate traffic bullshit gurus and all this other different kinds of things. And it's just fucking crazy how much stuff I actually get through that Facebook feed just because I'm in these other groups, related to that topic in itself. And so doing my best to not trying to compare myself to say like you or Brian Dean or Neil Patel or Rand Fishkin or any of those other people at the same time. And so
Well, and also don't get distracted by it because you know what? I mean, just because somebody's successful doesn't mean that what they're doing is sustainable or even makes them happy. And I can tell you a lot of what I've done over the last couple of years has made me miserable because I literally became my own biggest slave. And again, what I wish I would have known when I first started was that one, making money is only hard when you're spending your time doing things that you know is over your limit or something that you know that you shouldn't necessarily be doing. And that's kind of obvious. That's just basic. But another thing is if you have already made a certain amount of money, making that same amount of money becomes a lot easier. So that's where taking yourself not too seriously comes in, because once you know how to make a certain amount of money, it's always about getting to the next level. So when you first started, or when I first started, or any SEO first started, it was just a thought in their mind that they could make money online, right? It's just like, oh, that sounds cool. And now, however many months or years or whatever later, here we are making as much as we are, which is kind of arbitrary because it just has nothing to do with how successful we are. It just has to do with our timeline. And I can easily tell you now how you can make X amount of money doing whatever,
right.
but that has nothing to do with having value or creating anything. Really, it just has to do with a small part of my timeline. And so anytime you start seeing stuff like that, you have to just think to yourself, oh, that's a cool timeline they have. I hope it's working well for them, and then move on and keep working on your timeline, because a lot of the times what's working for other people, again, isn't just because of a thing that's actually working, but because of the fact that they are a person who knows how to work that thing.
Right.
Right? So like the way I talk right now works well for me on YouTube. If you were to talk about the same stuff, again, I'm saying like really basic stuff. I'm like, follow your dreams, whatever, right?
Right.
Might not work, but that's because I figured out a way for it to work for me. And again, that's where that consistency comes in. That's where that building that brand, building that authority, all that stuff we're talking about comes in, because you're no longer just trying to do 3 ways to do X or whatever, arbitrary blog post, for 2018. But what you're actually doing is you're creating something of value that people actually want, that they see as something there that's not normal, right?
Right.
People want to see people stand out, and whether it's a brand or whatever, as somebody who does something very unique. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. And at least in my area, what I do is quite unique. But also at the same time, there's the vast majority that has never even heard of this kind of stuff before.
Right.
And that was one of the facets of when I built that 70-page guide, is for those who have never even heard of this before. You never even heard of search engine optimization,
Mm-hmm.
or just the term digital marketing in the first place. And of course, a lot of them are in the older sense, in the older generations and so on and so forth. Um, but those are the ones who are also the business owners that are the ones that are making the decisions if they want to go with social media marketing, digital marketing, search engine optimization, custom websites, and also the different crazy stuff at the same time. And I point to that, and I was going to make it, and I completely lost it.
Happens to me all
um,
the time.
but at the same time, it's like I like having the competitors in my area, but I also need to figure out what exactly is it that they are doing that's bringing them business versus what is it that I'm not doing that I could be doing.
Right. But also see where you fit into that, though, is what I'm saying. Like, there's a difference between shiny objects and objects that are meant for you, is what I'm saying. Like, a shiny object isn't really that shiny if you know you're going to have to do that thing like consistently. So don't just go and be like, oh, money there, money here, shiny, shiny, right? Everywhere. Go and find something that you see in yourself and replicate that. Because again, you want that unique value that comes from you, comes from your brand, not from some, 2018 how to do affiliate drop shipping sort of stuff.
Right.
Because that has nothing to do with you and everything to do with making money. You
Right.
want to figure out right now not how to make money, but how to make value.
Right. And one thing I do know for a fact, especially in my area, is that yeah, there's a lot of these different similar companies that are here in my area that does social media marketing, search engine optimization, custom website builds, yada 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 yada. But what I noticed though, 95% of them say they would rather go with somebody who they can actually meet in person. They love the fact that I am local, you know, and that's what I tend to win over the most is for those that I can actually meet in person. And that's also kind of one of my arguments at the same time is, you're not dealing with some random agency in another country, or you're not dealing with some random account executive, or some BS crap, some random salesperson that you're never ever going to see in your life. All you're going to have is just either email or over the phone. So that's sort of one of my selling points. What makes my company unique, what makes me unique, is the fact I can meet these people face to face. I can meet these small business owners face to face. And so they just feel that much more comfortable with moving forward with somebody who is another small business owner who understands what it's like to struggle as a small business owner, and how it all affects them positively, and how helping them will help me positively, and so on and so forth. So
Right.
that's one thing I have going for me. But also at the same time, yeah, there's other companies here that are also local and they do got other local people, but at the same time, they're not going out of their way uh, to have that presence, if you will. They're not going to a lot of these networking events. They're not going to these little different groups and all the different kinds of things. And I've been to a shit ton in the last 3 months. It's ridiculous. I've lost count to how many groups and networking events, also shit that I've been to, and not one of them was also from another marketing agency like mine that does social media marketing or search engine optimization or custom website builds and so on and so forth.
Well, and that's probably going to be a really good, one of the channels we're talking about. It could just be that you start with, YouTube and or Facebook and local events or local based things. But again, see, you're being consistent there, so it's somewhat working for you, right? But the other thing you have to realize is that the people who are telling you that the main reason they like you is because they can meet you in person are the same people who are going to find you on YouTube and say, "Hey, I like how much you teach on YouTube," right? And the difference is that people like to highlight the things they like about you because that's why they want to hire you, because they like you.
Right.
So I don't necessarily think that those people are going to be only liking one thing. So I think it's important for you to try to again hit on multiple assets, because that way you can find those same people but them liking you in a different way at the same time as well. The other thing too is if you can take whatever you're doing and document it, taking a step further, killing two birds with one stone, whether it be you showing up to events, whether you being doing free audits, whatever it is. And I don't care how it is. You could do a blog post on the event, you could do pictures, but the point is that you want to try to take what you're already doing and somewhat streamline it into content as well. That way people get to follow you, not just in the physical sense, but in the online sense too.
Right.
So if you're doing a bunch of meetups and or events or whatever, and you can get one interview per event, something that you know will somewhat work, and it only takes you an extra 10 minutes or I don't know what it is, that could translate into long-term value that could end up being one of your biggest channels.
Okay.
So
I
again,
get that.
if I were you, try to take what you're doing, take 2 or 3 networks, whether it's physical, local, Facebook, YouTube, and try to think about how you can take those things and try to merge them into a cross, sort of where you're streamlining your cross promotion, where it's like, okay, I'm going to go to this event, I'm going to take a few pictures, and then I'm going to talk about it on video or a podcast or whatever. And
Right.
and again, that's just an estimation. I don't know if that's actually going to work. That might be just a waste of time. But
No, it makes sense because you're not just having to focus on one avenue of approach. You got multiple avenues of approaches here, which is good because the way that I see it is that not everybody has time for video, but they might have time for in person. They may not have time for in person, but they have time for video. Sort of
right,
that, vice versa, and the opposites or whatnot too is kind of hitting on both of those approaches there because one will work for this audience, but it may not work for this other audience, but this other thing here will work for that other audience, and so on and so forth. So I get where you're coming from on that.
and another thing you have to consider is that an extra 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever it is per event or per whatever you're doing that's going to last last an hour or 2 hours or whatever, could literally be an entirely other channel for you, right?
Right.
So you really want to think about if what you're doing right now, and again, you don't want to spread yourself too thin where you're just constantly going after shiny objects, but at the same time, you want to think, is what I'm doing right now going to be something I'm going to be doing consistently? And if it is, then I need to figure out how I can take that and maybe spend an extra 5 minutes reworking it into another thing I want to focus on as well. So like for me, again, what am I doing here? I'm doing this call, goes on YouTube. It's already on YouTube. It's live, right? Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to download the video. I'm going to put it on Facebook. Next, I'm going to put it on my Facebook page. I'm going to remarket it to the people who've already seen my stuff. Next, I'm going to put it on my Discord channel. Next, I'm going to put on an email blast. Next, I'm going to put, right? It just goes on and on and on. But that's because I've gotten to the point where I know how to streamline it. So with an extra couple of clicks of a button, I've now hit an extra 4K people per channel.
Right.
But that's only because I spent that extra 10 minutes every time I did something, right? My bulk of my work right now is with you. It's hour 7. We've been talking for an hour and 17 minutes. That's where the bulk of my work is. But if I just only leave that on YouTube, or I only leave that in a meetup group, or all this valuable stuff I'm saying, there's gonna be a lot of people who aren't gonna be able to see that.
True.
And I want the ability to be able to reach as many people who relate to me as possible. Not random people, not people that I'm targeting with Facebook cold ads, how to do e-commerce dropshipping. I don't care about selling. What I care about is creating a brand, an authority where people relate to me and they end up promoting me for me. And they end up coming to me at some point because they like me for the type of stuff I share and they feel an emotion based off that rather than just Chase does SEO, so does everybody else.
Right. So it's kind of like a relationship management, if you will, relationship building.
Yeah, it's all about relationship building. I mean, people buy off of emotions. And if you want people to buy from you, you have to create a brand that has some sort of emotion built on it. That makes sense?
Yeah.
At the same time too, I don't want to be too emotional. I don't want to, I get in these conversations with people. I always feel a little awkward because I don't know if I'm overstepping my boundaries when I'm telling people stuff.
Oh, no, it's all good. I have a very open mind when it comes to all this, and so any opportunity is a good opportunity. Any opportunity is a learning opportunity, if you will. And that brings me into my next thing in terms of lead generation and capturing, sort of in a way building another avenue of approach here when it comes to email marketing. Not only are we building a relationship with YouTube, but also um, the emails as well. What's a good source for capturing emails, in your opinion?
You mean like how I do it, or like an actual platform to use?
Either way, either one that you're comfortable with sharing.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, whenever I try to get emails, it's generally like my last resort. Email, I don't really spend as much time on just because I look at it as business cards, which I stopped using business cards, by the way, because I feel like people associated them with the garbage can. Because what do you do when you get a business card, right?
Right.
You throw it away. So I kind of look at email marketing sort of the same way, right? I still use it, but the best way I do it is I'll do like some sort of content upgrade where I'll drive people to a blog post on my Facebook group or YouTube or whatever. And in there, it'll be, get access to the free Facebook group, enter your email now, and then it captures them and then redirects them to the Facebook group. Or I'll just give them like a free checklist of whatever the post is. And for that, I'll just save the post as a PDF and then just put it as, insert the link on a redirect URL. Not anything really too complicated. And the software or the platform I'm using is MailChimp, but I hate it. I'm trying to get away from it. I just haven't spent the time migrating away because I just don't care enough about email right now. Even though I do have a list of about 5,000 people.
Oh, wow. Okay. That was what I was trying to do for my company website, was to find a way to capture emails, either through restricted blog content or just whatever the case may be, but trying to build an email list that I can send out regular blog updates to, or podcast updates, or video updates, or company news updates, just whatever the case may be. So that way we're still always at the forefront of their minds if they like the content enough as it is to provide their emails. So it's
right, but
some good ways to keep at the forefront of their mind.
Did you notice though how I said I get them on my email list and then I get them into my Facebook group? So I really, if I were you, would try to focus on a couple platforms besides that. And the reason why isn't because email doesn't work, but because you're in an industry where everything gets abused at the highest potential possible. Email lists work a lot better when you're like, you have an email list full of people who like fishing, right?
Right.
Because those are the type of people who are like, oh, it's Jerry, doing another blog post on how to do fishing, right? Versus, here's my 50th, 100th email about Facebook marketing or SEO tips, for this day. I hate these people, because they're all trying to do that stuff. So you want to, in my opinion, maybe still get the email list, but redirect them to like a Facebook group or something in the process, because you want to try to do something that's more unique. That's why I like Facebook groups so much. It's because I get to create a community that's unique versus, I hate doing anything that is the same. And it's not because I don't like doing what works. It's because I like, I get the most enjoyment out of doing things that basically don't make me money, which is sort of a sad fate. But, they do make me money. Like I make money off of what I do, but, if I were the guy who's doing like Tai Lopez type stuff or whoever you want to, name, where I'm just doing those ads and all that stuff, I probably would make a lot more money, but I've been that guy I tried being that guy and I hate it. It's literally the worst feeling. You're just charging for everything. You're never actually helping anybody. My favorite times are actually times where it's like this, where I get to, I don't like it when people pay me. That's just how it is. But I like helping people where I'm just, normally with a coaching call, it's like it's an hour, it's done, right? They just paid me whatever it is. But with you, it's hour 23 minutes. We're still talking. It's more about it's that extra feeling of helping, not just being paid for everything. Because it's so easy, and that's the thing you were saying earlier is you're making all this money now. It's all about the money, right? Because it's like, well, I can't spend my time doing stuff for free anymore. But the problem is that the stuff that's for free, or the stuff that you're getting paid the least, right? You're actually probably enjoying that more because that's where the struggle is in a sense, right? That's where the unknown is, and that's where it's like the risk and the excitement. When you start getting paid money for everything, it just becomes boring, dude. You're just basically a guy sitting at a computer just freaking leeching money off of it, and it's not fun, dude.
No, I get it, and I do like it when I'm able to provide solid answers, especially in your group as well, for people who are asking questions who need help on something that I may know about, and it's a good feeling being able to help out and not asking anything out of it in return, because we're all in there for the same reason, to help each other and to learn and grow with each other, right? So honestly, that's the best feeling. That's one of my endorphins, besides drinking fucking soda and monsters and beer all day. That's where my, like, the highest endorphin feeling, if that even makes sense, right? Sentence structure, I don't care. But to me, being able to actually help somebody else figure something out because they've been able to help me out, that's the best feeling
Well,
that
and
coffee and
also
all that crap won't touch.
and also helping people out that actually really need the help. Like for instance, you would have never went to my site, at least not that I can foresee, and got and went and bought, my coaching or something,
Mhm.
because, that's just not in the cards for you right now. And so for me to kind of like just go and do this kind of stuff, it's so much more exciting, because it's like, when somebody can afford it, they're like, okay, well, I'll take Chase's advice, but does he really know what he's talking about? And then it's like all the questioning. I mean, it's not always like that, but it'll be like, are you sure I should do this, stuff like that, where it's like, now, like you and me, it's just like, you're like, okay, yeah, I'll try that out. I'll try it out. It's more, um, it's like, and that's where it comes down to, again, even, I don't know if you read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but the guy talks about, just going and trying to give away as much stuff as you can away for free. And it's not even because of the fact that, the stuff we're talking about where it's content, people are watching it, that kind of thing, but because he believes that the universe works in the sense that if you start giving away enough stuff to people, you start to create an abundance mindset where you're not just, take all the time. You're actually in a mindset of giving, give, and that's when people end up giving back to you, because people want to feed that energy.
Right. No, in a lot of ways it makes sense, but also at the same time, it's like, how much free stuff can you give away
Yeah.
until it becomes in that constant feast or famine cycle, or that feast
Well,
or famine stage.
and that's the other thing you have to talk to yourself about, right? Because, you know, uh, if you're not sleeping, you're not going to the gym, you're spiritually just bankrupt, you have no faith in life, that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
It's easy to get to that point when you're either on both ends of the spectrum, right? Uh,
Right.
and that's why it comes. I mean, and another basic principle, right? I'm just basic stuff. Live your dreams, whatever. Balance. You got to find a way to enjoy life in a balanced way where it's not always about um, being completely at the other end of the freaking side of life. Of course, there's going to be huge ups and downs, but the biggest thing that's important to remember is just try to figure out what's going to work for you, what's going to be something that you can do value based. It gets those endorphins going, gets you in a place where you're in that abundance mindset, but at the same time not like at a point where you're not able to do anything except that, because you're just trying to be that guy who's just giving stuff away. You're just a slave to people, right?
Right.
And then the same thing too is you don't want to be on the other end where you're just getting paid and you're still a slave, because you're not actually being happy. And it's easy to get on both sides, and I've been on both sides many, many times. I've had countless mental breakdowns, and for me, it's like I have to be able to invest in myself enough where I'm happy, where I can be able to do both and still have a life, right? And that's hard to do. Like it's hard to figure that solution out, but the only person who's going to invest in you really is you, and you have to try to figure out how much you're worth investing in.
Right. And it definitely makes sense too. And I know that it's only myself that can get myself out of this whole feast and famine cycle, and trying to find that balance, like you're saying, because you are right. There has to be a certain balance to where you're not going to eventually have a mental breakdown, so on and so forth, and just go absolutely batshit insane. So, like for me, like myself, like not too long ago, I started reading this book. It's called I can't remember the title of the book, but the concept is something called sisu. Basically, it's Finland's way of rejuvenating your mental health, if you will, your emotional health every single day by doing some random little exercise, whether it's riding your bike instead of taking a car, or going into the freezing ocean and jumping in and doing all these different things, or just spending time in a sauna, or just doing random little different things like that that takes you away from the rut and the craziness of everyday life. So that way it brings you back down. In a way, it grounds you. So with that, it inspired me to find a certain balance. And by just going to the jacuzzi every day at my apartment here, all of that stress and all that bullshit and all the other different kinds of things that's going on in my everyday life, not just with this work and career and so on and so forth, but just random different shit throughout life, all that crap melts away for the hour that I spend in the jacuzzi. And
Yeah.
it feels absolutely fucking phenomenal, when I go in, and especially when I come out, because I'm not thinking about all the different crazy things and what I did wrong, what I did right, and so on and so forth. So it's about just doing those little things to be able to find that balance. And so I
Right.
definitely agree where you're coming from on that. But also my concern was, how much free stuff can I give away until it becomes a problem? And so, like you said, it's just got to find that balance, and what works and what doesn't work, and just got to keep on trying and hope something turns out.
Yeah, I think uh, again, it really comes down to what you want, because uh, again, if you know that you're gonna have to create, let's say, 100 videos, just estimate it. Who knows? Let's just say that's a guess around something, or you have to do 100 blog posts, or you have to go to 100 more meetings, or whatever is the guess. Um, at least sort of plan for that, where it's like, okay, this is something that I think I could start doing, and I'm gonna shoot for this. But again, not getting to the point where it's like you're on either end, where it's like the one end you're doing it too much, where you're not really spending time on yourself, not doing the jacuzzi anymore, but at the other end too, not where you're like slaving away and then just spending all your time in jacuzzi and you have nothing else going on for you, right?
Right.
So you got to be able to treat yourself, but you also have to be able to sort of, I guess, beat yourself in a way, That didn't sound right, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I got you. There's definitely time for beating.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna take off, but hopefully that was helpful to you, man. And I got some stuff out here too that I'm sure will help me just moving forward. I got to remind myself of this stuff too, so these are always helpful for me.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I do thank you for you taking the time to hear my BS, and and just taking the time to help me out and give your suggestions, and based on what you know so far. And you know you gave me a whole lot of perspective, and that's good, because I was in that sort of depressive mindset despite trying to do something every day to find that balance. And so is every day trying to figure out what I can do to be better at all this, and what I can do better to try and bring in some new clients and so on and so forth. Um, so I do thank you so much for bringing that balance in for me and bringing that perspective as well. And so I'm definitely going to give those suggestions a try and see how it works from here on out. And I look forward to the other tools and the different things that you were saying that you're going to send my way as well. So I greatly appreciate it, man.
Yeah, I'll send you a message after about what we got to do to set that up. But yeah, just uh,
Yeah,
keep working at it, and keep your faith strong and things. And again, what I said earlier, it's like once you start making that 70K or whatever you're going for, it's hard not to make that anymore. So just be happy with where you're at right now. It's all part of the process. if you want it, you'll get to whatever point you need to get to, and at that point you need to think about, is that a place where you're going to either be in one of those mindsets or not, and how are you going to be mindful of whether or not that's going to start approaching? Because it's really easy to take your first month where you made like 30K or some other amount, or something that you weren't expecting, and totally have that throw you off. It happened to me. I know other people that it definitely destroyed their business and their personality and all that stuff with. So I would just try to be mindful of where you're at, be happy sort of with what you got so far. Your old you would probably be stoked to be where you're at right now. But
Well,
again,
yeah, I mean, like I've been happy enough just to be able to sit on the toilet for half an hour without having been yelled at about, oh, you spent your 15-minute daily quota bullshit. So if I want to sit on the toilet for an hour, I want to sit on the toilet for a fucking hour.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But maybe in the future you'll have a golden toilet. But
Yeah.
again, it has nothing to do with your happiness. It has everything to do with sort of what your timeline looks like. And I really don't think there's a huge difference between how happy I was when I first started, and how happy I am now. Based on the money. I think the biggest thing that I've really learned is that I need to spend my time working on things that I actually know are going to build the most value for myself and for others, and try to stop spending so much time being somebody that I'm not, and spending my time trying to do things just for everybody, or just for myself. There's got to be that balance.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, brother. It was good talking to you. Hopefully I'll talk to you
You as
soon.
well.
Let me know how it goes. I'll be looking forward to hearing from you. And also, I will send you that information over after this too. I'll text it over.
All right. I greatly appreciate it, man. Thank you so much again.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
Take care.
Bye. All right, guys. Hopefully you guys got some value from that too. That was a long call. I didn't expect for it to go that long, but that's just how it goes sometimes. So that's it for today. And until I see y'all next time, you already know